Hi guys, so let's now have a look at public goods. So public goods are a really important concept within the market failure theory. So when it comes to a public good, the purest types of public goods that you will see will be non-excludable and non-rivalrous in their consumption. So that really means that firstly, non-excludable, you cannot stop anyone from consuming those products, okay? Moreover, we can see that there is not going to be any rivalry in consuming those goods. So one person's consumption of a public good does not diminish the available quantity that there actually is. In addition to this, there may also be a non-rejectable feature to them. So two of the best and most commonly cited examples of pure public goods are national defence and street lighting. With both of those, you can see they're non-excludable. You can't actually exclude anyone from consuming those, and moreover you can also see that there is no rivalry in consuming those products, okay, those services there. In addition, you may also see lighthouses as an example, and it could also be radio as well, and the provision of radio as an example of a public good. Now, the lack of rivalry in consumption of these goods means that private firms will not provide public goods. That is with a notable exception, as we can see with that little asterisk, and that really just reflects that radio has a very different business model where it is provided by private firms, and that is really that it's ad supported or uses some other stream of revenue through competitions and so on. Now, what's also interesting about these public goods is that because they are non-excludable, then it's also going to mean that the individual could potentially free ride. They could actually avoid trying to actually pay and contribute to the provision of these areas, and as such they may try and get away without paying their taxes. In addition to that, we can also see there is a non-revealed preference, so we don't actually understand how much value people actually attain to national defence or street lighting in a given area. So we don't know how much value they actually have in relation to those goods and how much they would be willing to contribute. Okay, so therefore the question is, how much should be produced? Well, of course, the government doesn't truly know exactly the right level and will then determine the level based upon what they think is likely to be right. So the optimal quantity is that quantity for which the marginal cost of the last unit is just equal to the sum of the prices that all consumers are willing to pay. So the question is, for perhaps a park in a local village where there's perhaps 3 households, let's now imagine the situation of providing a public park for use or some common land which requires some maintenance, and therefore there's a further sort of maintenance cost involved in the provision. So you can see I've just drawn out our marginal cost curve here. Now perhaps we've got our first demand curve represented by DA, and this is perhaps the demand for Amanda. Now her level of actual utility that she derives from this this given land is perhaps £100. Okay, so that's how much benefit she actually derives. But in addition to that, there may be another family, and that family may be Belinda's family. So we can see also that when it comes to Belinda's family, well, we've got a rough demand point round about there, and here, well, we now reach a sum total of £200, sum total of those 2 demand curves added on top of another. Now, we can see that Belinda's utility that's actually derived from that piece of common land is again £100, okay? So exactly in line with what we see with Amanda. Now, if we then add in our third demand curve for perhaps Charlotte rather, ABC, there we go. We can see that actually Charlotte derives a much higher benefit, a much higher utility from consuming this common land, and as such we can see that we reach a total of perhaps £350. So this would be the way in which we would be able to actually determine how much demand there actually is for a public good. Unfortunately, there is this non-revealed preference. So this non-revealed preference means we don't truly know these demand curves. So Amanda could actually say, oh, well, actually, I only get £20 utility from it. So therefore, I'm only prepared to actually offer £20 worth in relation to the quantity that I want of this common land. Belinda, well, she might actually say, well, I only derive £5 worth. So you can see that there is likely to be a free rider problem, and that does come because there is this non-revealed preference evident within the provision of public goods. Okay, so the free rider problem really, in a nutshell, says that each person is motivated to understate the value of a non-rivalrous good, hoping that others will actually pay for it. So that's what they hope for, and thus public goods will need to be actually provided by taxation, of course, and that is where direct government provision becomes really relevant. Okay, great stuff, guys. Hope that was useful. See you next time.